So before getting into this video, a clear disclaimer that I will be covering spoiler content for DanMachi. I will be talking exclusively about volume 16 of the light novels, so if you do not want spoilers, I suggest clicking off the video. So getting into volume 16, there are some strings that are attached to the previous volume, mainly to do with Ryu and her feelings towards Belle and her kind of being more concrete about how she feels and what she's going to do about it, and umming and ahhing, and also feeling compelled because of Sia's feelings towards Belle and how she feels loyal towards Sia because what Sia's done for her. So there's this internal conflict going on. But very much at the start of the volume, Belle has been given a love letter from Sia, but has been handed to him by a Freya familiar member known Heden. And so this confuses Belle a little bit because Belle is receiving a love letter addressed from Sia, but has been handed to from a Freya familiar member, so he doesn't understand. The reason for it is that Sia has done this to make sure that Belle understands that it is a legitimate love letter, asking him out for the Goddess Festival, rather than it being her directly asking and Belle thinking that this is a bit of playing and flirting because Sia is known for doing this towards Belle. So she doesn't want Belle to misunderstand. She wants him to understand very clearly that this is a genuine love letter to go to the Goddess Festival. But at the same time, the Freya familiar members, or particularly Heden, is not allowing a no as an answer. So Belle has been blackmailed to go on this date, which Belle does send a letter to his familiar members saying that he needs help. He basically says at the end of it, help me. Also while explaining that he's gone on a date with Sia, and that he's spending some time to get some training in the dungeon, which is just mostly him saving girls in the dungeon and trying to do it in the most smoothest, sophisticated way possible, which to be honest is just kind of weird and cringy, but it just kind of adds to the comedic value. So Belle's received all that training. While the event is going on, the Hestia familiar members are actually working at the Hostess Fertility due to the previous events, because of the fact that certain members from the Hostess had to rescue them, so they are now repaying back that debt. That includes Hestia in a maid outfit, some of the other members in maid outfits, and Welf in a butler outfit. So you can imagine some of the fun reactions people have when they go there to the Hostess Fertility, seeing those members in those outfits. Definitely a fun little event for them. But Hestia does end up later on in the volume looking for Belle because she is concerned, and she does end up acquiring some help, which is of course Eyes, and they end up going back to his room and finding out about a particular place where they end up having the date. But before all those events play out, Belle has gone on the date with Sia, and straight away Belle is trying to be as smooth as possible. He knows what to say, he knows what to do, he has it all planned out, he's got the right outfit and everything like that. But it sends alarm bells to Sia, because to Sia, it just doesn't seem like Belle. This isn't the Belle that she knows and loves, and she picks up on that very quickly. Little moments like where she wants to toy with Belle and have a little bit of a fun back and forth, where she's like, hey, I want to hold your hand. Belle just instantly grabs her hand before she can even say anything. And this is the thing, Belle is not acting like himself. It is the Belle she knows and loves in the flesh, but it is not him being him. And this is because of the training and the fact that that certain Freya familiar member is forcing him to act in a certain way, dress in a certain way. And Sia even points that out, that he is wearing certain clothes that she would know of someone else from the Freya familiar members, their kind of fashion sense. So straight away it's standing out that this is not the Belle that she's normally used to. Belle opens up, and so Belle kind of comes out a bit more of his shell. There are fun little moments where they're just sharing those little moments. They're walking about, trying to interact, but because of that forced training that he's had, it just didn't seem like the Belle that she knew and loved. This is where Sia takes the opportunity to say to Belle, hey, I want you to kidnap me. The Freya familiar members are watching. Can you kidnap me? And being Belle who he is, he ends up agreeing to it. Now, of course, I am leaving out one piece of major information out, which I will explain later, and you'll understand why, but I'm trying to explain this from not just the reader's point of view, but also from a little bit of Belle's point of view. Little pieces of the puzzle will come out as time goes on. Sia has said, hey, the Freya familiar members are watching. I want you to kidnap me and get me away from the Freya familiar members, which they are watching. So he helps, he goes into a bookstore, he does get her away, and he ends up taking Sia to the Saints Cathedral, which that is where they end up having a discussion about love, death, some of these fairy tale stories that Belle knows and loves from that, and they have a fun little heart-to-heart moment where they have a discussion. This ends up leading Belle to also then taking Sia to the ship restaurant, and he ends up going in there. They have their little cute little moment. Freya familiar members end up crashing that party. But during that whole party, there are also the hostess fertility members also jump in there as well to spy on Sia, but Sia already knew that they were spying, so she calls out to them for help while the Freya familiar members are attacking, and they end up helping Sia and Belle get away, which she ends up jumping off the ship. Also, Hestia and Eyes are also looking for them as well. They get a little bit of a tip-off because they go back to Belle's room, see the information about the restaurant, so they go to that event, but everything just goes to complete chaos. Those events playing out, Sia jumps off the ship, Belle follows, and that is the end of that date. The next day comes up, Wilf ends up giving some major bro-to-bro advice to Belle, saying, hey, Sia's been really forward with you, you need to be forward with this information, like you need to say how you feel, be forward about it, don't beat around the bush, don't do your usual, this girl is madly in love with you, you need to tell her how you feel. And so Belle takes that advice on. Belle ends up going to look for Sia, ends up bumping into Hogni on the rooftops. Hogni ends up running away. Belle continues to look for Sia and ends up instead running into Otter, who Otter points in a specific direction, doesn't say anything. Belle takes that advice, realizing that Otto's just pointing where Sia is. Belle ends up bumping into Sia and they end up having an exchange, but someone tries to kill Sia. That is, in fact, Hognir. They're using a cursed weapon. Ryu ends up stepping in to try and save Sia, and that allows for Belle and Sia to have a discussion. Belle ends up handing an item that they bought during the date. So during the date, Belle ended up buying 2 items, one for himself and one for Sia, and they were like little brooches thing. Gave one to Sia and he kept one, but the next day he gave his to Sia and said, oh, you dropped this. Now the real Sia would have known that they didn't drop that because that wasn't theirs, that was Belle's. But this Sia took it on and said, oh, thank you, must have dropped it. And that is where Belle realizes that this Sia is not the real Sia, but in fact someone else pretending to be Sia, known as Horn. The fake Sia tries to kill Belle, fails at it. Belle ends up finding the real Sia and ends up giving their rejection to Sia. Sia doesn't take that rejection too particularly well. She walks through the rain, calls out to Otter, and tells Otter, I'm going to take Belle. Which, as that happens, Sia turns into their true form, being Freya. So to explain who Horn is, which is the person that did try to kill Belle just before, Horn is actually Sia, but when they were a child, they were known as Sia, they were in an orphanage, and one day they met Freya, who told her that she would save her and asked her if she had a wish. Her wish was to be like her. Freya offered her a deal. In exchange for giving her name, she received the name Horn and a magic that allowed her to become Freya, acting as her replacement every time she left under the identity of Sia. So to explain it a little bit easier, is that Freya is pretending to be Sia. And while Freya is pretending to be Sia, this person known as Horn steps in as a substitute as Freya. While that's happening, Horn also feels all the normal senses that Freya does. So while Freya is slowly falling in love with Belle, Horn is also falling in love with Belle, because Horn can feel everything Freya feels. This is why Horn tries to kill Belle, because Horn is extremely loyal to Freya. They are the goddess's attendant. They hate Belle, but they also love Belle because of that conflicting emotions that they share with Freya. And so Horn wants to free Freya from these feelings, which leads Horn to trying to kill Belle, but failing. That kind of explains a little bit of the basics. There's a little bit more to do with it, a little bit more of a backstory, but that is the general gist of who Horn is, kind of the situation that they were in, and kind of the reason why they tried to kill Belle, because they were just too loyal. And I mean, if you look at a lot of Freya's familiar members, they do take their job way too serious when it comes to protecting Freya. So I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. This is a bit of a confusing video. I had to do many takes just to kind of make sure I worded things correctly, said names correctly, because sometimes I mixed the names up and said Freya when I should Seer, and Seer when I should have said Freya, and Horn, and all these other names. So I hope you liked that video, because it was a head mess for my precious little head to make. So again, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe for more anime content, and I'll see you beautiful nerds in the next video.